there is a huge difference between the original Bible and the human translated Bible. Let me prove to you something that can help you in life. We are talking about Cain and Abel, or in the original Bible, it's called Cain and Hevel. והאדם ידע את חווה אשתו, ותהר ותלד את קין, ותאמר, קניתי איש את יהובה. And the man knew his Chava, Eve, his wife, and she became pregnant, and she gave birth to Cain. And she says, that's because I bought this man from Jehovah. Now, in order for you to understand the parable of Cain and Hevel, which can contribute a lot to your life, you need to know the code. So the first thing that we see here is that basically Chava basically says, I bought Cain from God. In other words, I paid off Jehovah, God, for this Cain. And we'll talk about this one in a later time. Let's pay attention to the word Cain. Cain, the code is 160. And Cain comes from Kinyan. Kinyan means property. ותוסף ללדת את אחיו, את הבל. And she continued to give birth to his brother, Hevel. Hevel, the code is 37. 37 is the body temperature. 37 represents the spirit. Hevel is what comes out of your mouth, like the exhaling. When you exhale, that's Hevel. We have 160, means property. We have 37, meaning spiritual. Take a minute and tell me if you understand what this parable is about, because it will blow your mind. Ready? Basically, this parable is about the conflict that we have in life between Cain, the materialistic world, 160. By the way, 160 is also money. Money in the language of God is kesef. Kesef is 160. Hevel is spiritual, 37, which is also the body temperature. As a scientific, non-profit organization, we always cross-reference. We always double-check. It's not enough that this is 160. We cross-reference, and it's also money. Hevel, 37, is spiritual. This parable is the conflict between Cain, the materialistic world, and the spiritual world. This represents the conflict. Now let me tell you what God is telling us. God is telling us that He prefers the spiritual because God loved more the presence from heaven. But God knows and recognizes that life cannot be without the property, without taking care of tangibles. So when Cain killed Hevel, when the materialistic killed the spiritual, the materialistic could not live on its own. And that's the moral of this parable, which brings me to tell you that this is exactly what we have with the Shabbat, with the Sabbath. God is basically saying, 6 days, be as materialistic as you want. On the 7th day, be with me and be spiritual. God is telling us that the ratio and balance between materialistic and spiritual, Hevel, ought to be 6:1. So what is it actually, this name certificate? We take your name and we send it to Jerusalem. They discover your name in God's holy letters. This guy, his name is Sami Hafagi. His name in God's holy language of Hebrew is Shmuel. Shmuel. It's from right to left. 346, 1, 30. Each letter has a number between 1 and 400. God's language of Hebrew has 22 letters. Each letter is encoded by God from numbers between 1 and 400. So, the first name, Shmuel, the total is 377. Last name is 102. Together, it's 479. We are looking now in the original Bible and we find out that it's Genesis 19:21. This is the way that Sami Hafagi, Shmuel Hafagi, is wired to be. He's supposed to understand what it means. We don't know. He's supposed to understand. It's like between God and Shmuel Hafagi. But Shmuel Hafagi has also life path. And that's something very interesting that we find in Pi. It's a very complex method that we use in Code to God. Life path is 2119. And it's Exodus 22:7. That's his life path, and he will understand what it means in English and in Hebrew. This is the divine number. His divine number is 2. Now, Shmuel, Sami Hafagi, will now understand his life better. He will understand his direction in life. He will be connected to God better. And he needs to look for these numbers in his life. So if Shmuel Hafagi, Sami, is looking to decide something in life, let's say buying a house, a job, and he sees suddenly something with the number 2, it means that God is giving him direction. Because you need to start somewhere when you want to communicate with God. That's the way that I do that. I have my numbers, and when I see them, I know that this is what it is. Let's take another one, for example. Let's take this one. The name is Sean Myers. Sean is Jerusalem discovered for us that it's actually Yohanan. It's an Irish name, and it went through a few generations of mistranslations or meanings and so on, and it actually came from Yohanan. It's one of the apostles of Jesus, and this is the Hebrew name. And again, there are 5 letters. You see the number for each letter. The total is 124. Myers, 321. Wired, 445. This is who Sean Myers is, or in his biblical name, Yohanan Myers. This is his life path. This is his divine number. And he can learn who he is and what's his life path. And from now on, when Sean Myers will see the number 4, he will know that this is probably the right choice. Or if he will see 445 or 1943, and it goes on and on. All of these people will find their connection to God much, much better. Let's look from the other side. Here we have Jonathan Fabella, and his real name in the original Bible is Jonathan Fabella, which means a gift from God. More here. This is an interesting one. I can see that from here. Two of them are very interesting. Yes, I can see that. Edwin. Edwin has been a change. It's originated from the original Bible, Baruch, which means blessed. And somehow, throughout the generations in Europe and then in Great Britain, it became Edwin. But the original name is Baruch, which means blessed. This is very interesting one. His name is Hayden Ace, but his biblical name is actually Or Echad, which means Hayden, it's actually light. Or means in the original Bible, light. Did you know that Ace means in Spanish one? So it's Echad. But this is only our team in Jerusalem can do. Discover your letters in God's language. And then we in Florida, we take about 4 or 5 days to decode your name. How interesting it is. Or is 207, 13. 13 is a very interesting number. 13 is love. 13 is one. There are many other things with 13. That's a different time. So now, Or Echad can better connect to God. This is another one that I like. I just saw it right now. Catherine. Catherine is actually means pure. It's actually Tehora. Tehora. Tehora means pure, and it's 225. Very nice. These people will cry when they get it because they will feel the connection to God. And that's the beginning of their divine life. And then let's look at what we have here. This is the best. This is the ultimate. It's an entire poster. It's really big. It's an entire poster with your life path, with who you are. And that's the full interpretation. With the full interpretation of who you are. And that takes us like about 2 weeks to prepare. It's amazing. People cry when they get it. They finally find who they are.